Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom, the walking, talking encyclopedia. The blood, the prime function of blood. My mission, the impeccable wisdom, knowing which everything is perfectly known. My greatest discovery, Divyank, the divine design of nature, with which perfect objects are designed and created. Divyank is the reward of 60 years of integrated education. Impeccable wisdom is enlightening, and integrated knowledge is empowering. Now let's understand blood completely. First and foremost, let's have the definition of blood very clearly. Blood is a highly specialized, red, heterogeneous fluid which circulates the cardiovascular system. It is not an ordinary fluid but a connective tissue where intercellular substance is an aqueous solution of crystalloids and colloids called the plasma. Unlike other connective tissues, there is no continuity or interconnection between the cells of the tissue. Cells can move or swim around freely in the blood. Blood is a divine seat of life or homeostasis. Everything is required for 100 trillion cells of the human body reach the cells through the blood. It can also be called efficient transport system with the help of cardiovascular system, heart and blood vessels. This could be the complete definition of blood. We can add few things, but by and large I would like this to be the seat of definition of blood. Now let's understand the composition of blood. An anticoagulated blood, when settles down in an empty vessel, will settle as the concentrated solid 45% and concentrated fluid 55%. And living example is anticoagulated blood with heparin, as you can see down. Centrifuge at 3000 revolutions per minute for 30 minutes. Clear straw colored plasma 55%, as you can see on the right side. Cells settle down to 45% down, as you can see on the right side. Then buffy layer is the leukocytes and platelet counts. Red cells or erythrocytes are down. At this particular juncture, as I very clearly mentioned, there is a plasma which is 55% and there are cells which are 45%. If this particular definition is understood very clearly, I think we'll understand the system very well. But what are the different cells which stand out? From this you can make out there is a layer of platelet cells which are there for coagulation. There are leukocytes which are white blood cells required for immunity, and there is also plasma red column of erythrocytes or RBCs which you can see right at the bottom. So from that angle you can see the 45% of the whole blood as erythrocytes and leukocytes and platelets, and also the plasma which consists of the solid as well as fluid matter. If this picture is understood very clearly, it will be easy for us to build on it as we proceed towards higher levels of consciousness. So first let's take out the blood protein particles. The blood is an extracellular fluid contained within the cardiovascular system. Now, when you think of the extracellular fluid, we also know very well water is basically 61.8034% of the body's content, and remaining 38.1966% is solid matter on the earth, in the human body and each cell. Once that is understood, I think you'll have no problem at all to understand what it is. When you think of the extracellular fluid or the fluid content, you have extracellular fluid and intracellular fluid. That is also something which I want everybody to understand. Anyway, we have spoken about it. We'll continue to speak as we proceed because I want everybody to have a crystal clear idea. The clear straw colored fluid portion of the blood, as you've seen in the last time, is called 50% of blood plasma, which consists of water 91%, solids 9%. Solid matter comprised of inorganic matter 1% and organic matter 8%. This is also something which I want everybody to understand how this percentage is working out. Blood plasma contains ions and small molecules. Most capillaries are impermeable to plasma proteins. Resulting differences in protein between the plasma and interstitial fluid, so-called extracellular fluid, creates a colloid pressure called the oncotic pressure or osmotic pressure. So let's understand what is osmotic pressure at this particular juncture. Osmotic pressure, blood pressure, represents the percentage of osmotically relevant pressure created by osmotically active particles within the blood plasma. So each one has got its own pressure which is created. Osmotically active processes like sodium, potassium, other things along with the proteins have its own real, and the protein one which give you osmotic pressure and which defines very clearly, as we'll go to cardiovascular system to understand systemic pressure as well as venous pressure. Anyway, we'll not go to that juncture at this particular juncture. Let's go to the next stage. Now let's understand what are the major inorganic matters which are found in the blood. Sodium ions are the most common in extracellular fluid. Then you have calcium, then you have chloride, and you have bicarbonate. These are mainly extracellular molecules. Potassium, magnesium, copper, phosphate, and proteins are intravascular molecules. Ferrous sulfate and ferric sulfate, these constitute the electrolytes of the blood which are found primarily within RBCs. Human form is what it is all about. Their right concentration is essential for normal physiological function of the body called homeostasis. I have told you again and again, if you want to be perfectly healthy, physically healthy, emotionally healthy, mentally healthy, spiritually healthy, you've got to take care of homeostasis 24/7. In homeostasis, I've already spoken about it. The blood concentration is what 111 milligram of glucose average throughout. You are perfectly normal. Similarly, blood pressure of 120/74 and things like that will be well taken care of. So homeostasis is very important. From that, we have spoken about the proteins, we have spoken about the contents, we have spoken different cells, we have also spoken about major inorganic matter which is well defined in this particular presentation. Let's go to the next. Let's now talk of the total organic molecule, which is 8%. I told you 9% is a solid matter. 1 is inorganic and 8 is organic. What are these organic matters which we are talking about? These are subdivided into plasma protein 7%, which is albumin and globulin. These are the two important proteins which play a very important role as far as energy is concerned. Albumin is used for oncotic pressure as well as giving energy required for that. And globulin is used for infection immunity. And the ratio should be Deviank ratio. That means into albumin is 1.618034. Globulin should be 1. That ratio should be maintained. These are the two albumin, very important albumins which are found everywhere, including hen, eggs, which is the ratio of the same Deviank ratio. You can see it very clearly. But in human beings, you have fibrinogen and prothrombin, which play a very important role with respect to coagulation or clot formation and breaking whichever blood is broken. This will make sure that is sealed and done with it. Non-protein nitrogen substance is 1%. I told you out of 8, 7 is a plasma protein, 1 is a non-protein nitrogen substance. What are they? Urea, uric acid, creatine, creatinine. Other organic substances which play an important role is the sugar, fats, enzymes, hormones. Then at the same time, I also know very well we have neutral fats, triglycerides, phospholipids, glucose, cholesterol, bile salts, bilirubin, etc. This complete picture of biochemistry is absolutely essential for everybody to understand how to be perfectly physically healthy, emotionally stable, mentally powerful, religiously tolerant, and spiritually integrated so that we can go on with dealing with the world what on head straight. From that angle, so far what I've said has to be kept in perfect thing, and that concentration A to Z has to center around Divyang ratio only. Now let's go to the next stage, which has to be understood very clearly about the prime functions of blood. Once you understand the prime functions of blood, you'll understand almost everything very much clearly. First and foremost, as I told you in the beginning, in the respiration and pulmonology is prime function of pulmonology or respiratory system is not exchange of gases, but absorption of oxygen from the atmosphere and throwing off 61.8034% of carbon dioxide is the first transport which has to be understood very, very clearly. Second thing is nutrition from digestive system like water, nutrients, electrolytes, and other essential things which are required for homeostasis along with oxygen should be got from the digestive system, and they're absorbed from the external world into digestive system. After digestive system is able to digest and through portal system is brought to the liver, is assimilated into the product which the body can use, and that comes from there to the heart through the inferior vena cava and then circulated throughout the body to make sure that they take care of all the vital functions of the body. That is second thing which I want you to understand very clearly. Third thing which comes to stand is excretory functions. All whatever functions the body has done, all physiological functions are taken, all nutrients are used the way it is required, and what is converted into catabolic products, waste products, has to be excreted from the body. And the prime function of it depends on the kidneys. Blood is carried along with all those ingredients in kidneys, and kidneys are able to filter it out and throw it as the urine. And skin also is able to do, for that matter, even respiratory system is able to throw. There are so many places which excrete this. So we have to understand that it is a blood which carries things from A to Z. If there is something which is available throughout the body, top of the head, right up to the feet, it is blood along with sympathetic nervous system. That is something which I want everybody to understand. Having understood excretory functions, kidneys and skin, and of course respiration and other systems, then come to the fourth, regulation of transport of hormones. I've told you hormones are the chemical messengers produced by endocrine glands, which are carried in blood to the target organs where they have action to produce the hormones required for vital functions of the body to maintain homeostasis. That is the fourth level of function of blood has to be understood. Once this is understood, we'll have no problem whatsoever how we are going to deal with life completely. Fifth is homeostatic functions to maintain everything within the blood pressure, proteins, water, nutrients, electrolytes, fats, carbohydrate, everything has to be perfectly normal to maintain homeostatic function. And for that, again, I would say blood plays very important role. And that's the reason it's also called seat of life. Our hierarchy centers around blood A to Z. Also, all the vital requirements of the body which are required throughout the functions is also stored in the blood itself. For protection, it is the neutrophils and monocytes, eosinophils for detoxification, and for long-term immunities, it is the lymphocytes, which is immunity response, antibody mediated as well as cell mediated, lymphocyte T, lymphocyte G. And of course, RBCs carry hemoglobin, they carry oxygen and also carbon dioxide to expel it out. The regulation of body temperature is also specific heat of water is very, very clear. Once we understand that water is able to maintain homeostasis completely because it is the most level, most perfect. You can say the water is most complex, most specified, and the perfect solvent of the nature. The best you can ever think is water. And heat conductivity is also very, very high. As a result, high latent heat of evaporation, these things can result to a body temperature which is maintained at 98.4 degree Fahrenheit or 37 degrees centigrade to be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy for rest of the body. And that is very, very important when it comes to the question. Having understood this particular prime function of the blood and prime function of proteins, prime function of water, prime function of carbohydrate, and all the ingredients by and large, we have also spoken of the different kinds of blood cells which play an important role. The major part which plays very, very important is red blood cell. And the first slide was erythropoiesis only to explain why that is designed with Divyank. Second one is also according to Divyank. 1 millimeter, cubic millimeter of undiluted blood contains 5 million plus RBCs to be perfectly normal. Hemoglobin could be around 15 to 16 milligram, and all the things should be done in such a way that you are perfectly normal that way. WBC count 6,000, 60% neutrophils, 30% lymphocytes, and remaining monocyte, basophils, and eosinophil to another 10%. All that is maintained completely, and as far as the immune cells are concerned, it should be platelets. It should be around 2.4 million cubic per 1 cubic millimeter of blood. From all those point of view, blood plays very important role if you want to be perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. If this is maintained, I can assure you, you will have a plink, healthy glow throughout the body for rest of your life. Even if your age 70, 80, 90, even 100, you look as young as you would be provided you have maintained biochemistry fully, completely, blood completely, everything is perfect and you'll have no problem whatsoever. Having understood up to this the prime function, let's go on to the next slide. What does it say? Evolution of blood is something which I want now to talk about it, which has always made me get enamored. I have been saying from the day one, biological life started in unicellular organisms in the primordial oceans to start with, and single cell organism got all their needs from the water of the primordial ocean, and all the things were excreted into that. But as time with multicellular organisms started growing, and they start getting everything through blood, no more directly from sun. Food with water, electrolytes, and all the requirements of homeostasis came from extracellular fluid. Rest are executed by the internal environment. Elemental needs of each cell from the fluid is what it started as a prime function of evolution of blood. But as things improved with the time, most primitive multicellular types, the first attempt was an open one. Now you had the cell right in the middle, and from the water they could get into that and done with it. Then higher form, they started evolving and became closed ones. Cells became more packaged together. Vessels became more close together. They are called now closed environment. Similarly, between ancient primordial seal and the extracellular fluid of the cells is almost identical. Sea water of today is fairly different from serum concentration as we have today, because sea has become much more saline than it was to start with. Hence, the evolution of blood has evolved as to understand and maintain the perfect homeostasis all the time, and that is what it is all about. And if we are able to understand that we all started with a unicellular organism and we become but one thing which hasn't changed is the fluid from which we are getting everything and the fluid into which we are throwing everything. Once that is understood completely, you'll have no problem whatsoever about the entire evolution of the human body, which way I can say we are a bunch of atoms, elements, molecules, compounds, cells, tissues, tissue organs, organ system, and organism. If you have to understand completely, this evolution of blood has to be understood completely without any problem. Now we have come to the last slide, and I will not talk much about it now because I think we have spoken quite a lot about how evolution. Since we are talking of the blood, evolution of the blood, let me leave it at that particular stage and hope that you have understood completely very clearly. When we come to this stage, we'll come at a later date to explain why this has make sure that we have a perfect physical health, emotional health, mental health, spiritual health, and all is required to make sure that blood at every stage is well taken care of. From this angle, let me put it, this is more important than anything else hereafter. So, at this juncture, let me say thank you very much. It has been lovely sharing all my experiences with a minimum, and we will start developing more and more as we proceed hereafter. So, from that angle, I'll say thank you very much. It has been lovely talking to you, and let's leave it here.